tonight. A wet, cold, slushy, sticky mess. A spring storm bears down on southern Saskatchewan, closing highways and creating havoc. Also, despite the wintry weather, thousands of Public Service Alliance of Canada union members hit the picket line, officially on strike.
We plan to continue striking until an agreement is made.
Plus, an explanation for a spectacular phenomenon in the sky earlier this week, all thanks to SpaceX.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Wednesday, April 19th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thanks for watching. A significant spring storm is bearing down on parts of the province. Southern Saskatchewan is being hardest hit with strong wind gusts and heavy snowfall. Jesse Anton has more on how communities are coping.
Mother Nature hit the rewind button overnight, transforming southern Saskatchewan from spring back to winter. And the southeast corner is getting the brunt of it.
Quite heavy snows, very, very strong winds, reduced visibilities to near zero and blowing snow. So really getting hammered down there.
Up to 40 centimeters of snow, more than a foot, is expected in places like Weyburn and Estevan. But having dealt with a similar storm this time last year, both communities were prepared with their graders at the ready.
This can happen in Saskatchewan even into May. So we're pretty cautious about taking the snow equipment and, putting it away before the end of April.
With many roads closed by mid-morning on Wednesday, drivers in both the southeast corner and around Regina had to hunker down.
There is that really heavy, wet, slushy buildup everywhere, including the highways. So people are struggling to get around even parking lots.
Saskatchewan RCMP have issued an advisory urging people to delay their travel plans over the next day or so. Veteran semi-drivers are also encouraging people to stay off the roads.
If you don't have to go, don't do it, because you're just going to be more of a hindrance out there for people, which puts more strain on our emergency personnel and everything. So just wait till the highways are clear and then go.
Environment Canada is forecasting this Colorado low to move out of the province by late Thursday. And with temperatures staying on the cooler side heading into the weekend, the Water Security Agency says at this point the storm is not expected to bring any widespread flooding. Jesse Anton, CBC News, Regina.
Well, last time I looked out the window, it was snowing sideways. For a quick check on our current situation, we're joined by our weather specialist, Ethan Williams. Ethan, where's the storm now?
All over the place, Sam. All over south and central Saskatchewan. You can see it swirling about here, and really the heaviest bands right now kind of in around the Regina area, as folks in the city can tell. And you can actually see that it is definitely dropping visibility in the city right now. We're down to about half a kilometer, and that's the case really throughout all of southern Saskatchewan. Even as far north as Nipawin and Prince Albert, your visibility has been reduced as well. Now, because of that, some highways are being closed as a result, and right now Highway 33 between Regina and Stoughton, Highway 39 from the Trans-Canada Highway to Yellowgrass, Highways 48 and 35 from Weyburn to the U.S. border also impacted. Travel is also not recommended on a stretch of the Trans-Canada all the way from Chaplin to Wolseley, and Highway 11, a portion between Regina and Saskatoon, and as well Highway 2 between Moose Jaw and Rock Glen. Just how much is left of this storm system, Sam? I'll let you know coming up a little bit later in the show.
The answer is too much, but
yeah, that's right. You bet.
More than 155,000 federal workers are on strike, and picket lines are set up at hundreds of locations across Canada. Here in Regina, about 200 workers were walking the line this morning outside RCMP Depot.
Workers here on this line today, a lot of them are actually working for RCMP headquarters and at Depot. We have members of the Canada Revenue Agency, Service Canada, Indigenous Services, Border Services, Passports, as well as many, many others that have been affected by these contract negotiations. And our hope is that the federal government will get back to the table and bargain fairly with our union so that these members can get back into the workplace where they really want to be.
The federal government and the Public Service Alliance of Canada union failed to reach a deal by last night's deadline. Workers have been without a contract for about 2 years. Pay levels, remote work and job security are key issues for the union. One RCMP employee said she wants more money to cover the high cost of living.
I would love better wages because I'm a single parent with 2 boys and I'm paycheck to paycheck, and it would be nice to be able to put a little aside once in a while, to maybe take them on a trip or just go on a road trip, Can't even do that. It's just gas, home, pay bills. That's about it. So.
Almost 160,000 workers are affected, but close to 50,000 remain on the job because they're deemed essential. Kate McKenna has the latest from Ottawa.
United and defiant, throngs of workers hit the picket lines, demanding more from government.
My friends, when we work together in solidarity, we will win, and we will win this fight.
That's right! Scenes like this reproduced across the country.
I think that we're showing them that we're here and they need to listen to what we want.
Ultimately, I'm just trying to get ahead in life, have an independent life, get out of the parents' basement.
Every time you go to the store, the prices are unbelievable. The gas keeps going up.
Canadians will feel this strike. Some services like pensions and employment insurance will stay up and running, but new passports will only be issued in exceptional cases.
I got the photo, everything ready.
This man was hoping to visit China. Now his plans are on hold.
If possible, I plan to go in the middle of May. I don't know if it's possible.
How does that make you feel?
I have no choice.
The government warns of long waits processing taxes, immigration papers, passing through borders, and more.
To Canadians, we know that our strike poses unneeded challenges.
The main sticking point is wages. The union wants a 13.5% increase over 3 years. The government has offered 9%.
We will continue to work with the PSAC to reach agreements that are fair and competitive, but we cannot do that unless the union is prepared to compromise. We cannot write a blank check.
Other issues include job security and clear rules around working from home. The government says that'll hurt its ability to function.
The reality is Canadians have every right and expectation to see the services that they expect delivered.
Justin Trudeau says he wants to respect labor rights and let the process play out. But the government could introduce back-to-work legislation. If it does that, the NDP has already said that it won't support it, meaning the Liberals would need to find votes from either the Bloc Québécois or the Conservatives. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Ottawa.
Premier Scott Moe and his cabinet faced criticism today from local leaders at the Saskatchewan Urban Municipality Association's annual convention. At issue, the government's record on homelessness and addiction. The officials were speaking from the floor during the Bear Pit session with provincial cabinet. Saskatoon City Councillor David Curtin says the current social assistance model is a failure. Curtin says there is growing homelessness and addiction in communities across the province. He says the provincial programs need more funding.
I understand that your goal is independence, and we all in this room would agree with that goal, but people cannot achieve that goal of independence if they're evicted from housing. I know that you'll tell us the rates have risen, but $30 a month is not going to help people be housed or stay housed.
Social Services Minister Jean Makowski says social assistance rates are increasing, but he agrees more can be done to improve the situation. Other SUMA delegates questioned cabinet ministers on issues ranging from election dates to care home funding. The annual convention brings together nearly 1,000 representatives and officials from cities, towns, villages, resorts, and northern municipalities. The NDP opposition was joined at the legislature today by medical students and Saskatchewan doctors. They're calling on the province to universally fund prescription contraception. The advocates say covering the cost of birth control pills and devices will improve access. Earlier this year, BC became the first province to cover the cost of prescription birth control. That includes oral pills, injections, IUDs, and the morning after pill known as Plan B. The students and doctors say the lack of coverage in Saskatchewan can lead to unwanted pregnancies and poor health outcomes.
Individuals just have a right to contraception, especially those
who are part of marginalized groups and face even more barriers to healthcare under the status quo. So we think that right now, because of the fiscal benefit, not only to the individual, but to the government, that access to contraception is a policy that must be implemented in Saskatchewan for Saskatchewan residents as soon as possible.
Often in my practice, I see women who don't choose long-acting reversible contraceptives such as implants or IUDs because of a cost barrier. And to me, this is devastating that women can't choose the best option for them because of cost.
The Minister of Health says he will meet with the students and doctors. Paul Merriman says the government supports contraception through distribution of condoms. Critics argue that only focusing on condoms makes women reliant on men and strips them of their ability to make choices about their own bodies. New federal legislation has passed requiring federal judges to consider violence toward a partner when deciding on child custody cases. It's called Keira's Law. It's named in honor of a 4-year-old Ontario girl who died in 2020 after multiple judges ignored warning signs of her father's potential for violence. Marina von Stackelberg reports.
I like all the dark colors.
Keira Kagan has been gone for 3 years, but her name will now live on in a new law meant to prevent deaths like hers.
She would have done great things, so, we're going to do them for her.
Keira and her biological father were found dead at the bottom of a cliff west of Toronto. Her mother, Jennifer, believes it was a murder-suicide. She had been abused by her ex-husband and went to court dozens of times trying to prevent him from having unsupervised access to their daughter.
I was before a judge with a background in labor and employment law, and he cut me off on the stand when I was talking about domestic violence and parenting and the effect on our daughter. And he said domestic violence is not relevant to parenting, pathological lying is not relevant to parenting, and I'm going to ignore it.
Keira's law will require federal judges be educated on intimate partner and family violence, including coercive and controlling behaviors. Keira's stepdad, himself a family lawyer, says too often judges have not believed emotional and psychological abuse is a sign someone could be a bad parent.
We're still using really outdated stereotypes on what domestic violence looks like in the current modern society. It's no longer bumps and bruises.
Judges will now also have to consider making someone accused of abusing their partner wear an electronic monitoring device as a bail condition.
When a woman or family member chooses to seek protection for themselves and their children is the most dangerous moment.
This, in fact, is one reason why women often will stay with an abusive partner. They feel as though if they stay in the relationship, they can protect the children from being alone with the father.
This law will only apply to federal judges, but the hope is it will spark similar changes in provinces and territories and throughout the entire child welfare system. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
The University of Saskatchewan has kicked off an ambitious fundraising campaign. The university wants to raise $500 million by 2025. It's the school's biggest campaign ever. President Peter Stoichev says more than $300 million has actually already been raised. But with a lot of fundraising momentum already, it wanted to go to the public to finish off its goal. One student and former U of S athlete says the money can have a big impact.
I've been fortunate enough to receive scholarships throughout my time at U of S, and I think those financial assistance and supports go a long way in ensuring students can academically focus and in their sport, focus on their sport and just reach their full potential.
The money will go toward 4 main areas, including research, Indigenous achievement, new scholarships and bursaries, and upgrades to university facilities. But Stoichev says the fundraising won't prevent tuition hikes. He says they're necessary to keep the university running. Every time I look outside today, I'm hopeful that conditions have improved in Regina, and, well, they only seem to have gotten worse. This is a time-lapse of how things evolved this morning in the Queen City. Looks more like a day in December than one in April. Ethan will have more on when this mess will end and when we can expect it to melt in his forecast after the break. Stay with us. SpaceX has launched the most powerful rocket ever built. The Starship blasted off from a launch pad in Texas today, but it's a launch last week that has amazed skywatchers. It led to a giant, mysterious swirl that was seen dancing with the northern lights above the Dempster Highway over the weekend. Carla Ulrich has more.
This is the jaw-dropping swirl that lit up the night sky early Saturday morning. Those lucky enough to see it were quick to snap photos of the phenomenon. Talia McDonald was on the Dempster Highway when she saw it. She didn't know what she was looking at and quickly snapped photos for proof.
Had no idea what was going on, thought it was a UFO.
Turns out it wasn't a UFO after all. Earthlings did it.
4, 3, 2, 1, ignition. Engines full power, and liftoff.
A physicist with the University of Alaska Fairbanks says a SpaceX rocket likely caused the magical moment. The Transporter 7 mission took off a few hours before this shape hovered above.
When they're finished with their mission, they will actually sort of eject some of their propellant. And when that goes out in space and the sun is shining on it, you can see that in the sky if you're dark on the ground.
Hampton said it was Aurora watchers that reported it, and he knew right away what it was. For McDonald, the mystery is solved, but she'll never forget that night.
It was getting stronger and stronger and brighter, and it was actually moving across the sky. It was a bit spooky because we were the only ones on the highway.
It might have been spooky, but she was lucky. Hampton said the moment only lasted for 5 minutes. Carla Ulrich, CBC News, Yellowknife.
Well, if something like that happened in the sky tonight, we wouldn't see it. Ethan is back with one last look at your weather.
Yes, this forecast going to look very familiar, very similar to last night in Regina. Some light snow still at midnight. Winds starting to pull back a little bit, though, thankfully. But pay close attention because nothing changes really as we go through these next few hours into the morning. Still at -2, still some light snow, and guess what? Still at -2 by the noon hour, still light snow, northeast winds not changing at all. Saskatoon, a little bit of a brighter picture for you folks, not at midnight though, going to be at the freezing mark, still going to be seeing some flurries, and those are likely going to be sticking around as we head through the afternoon. But I think by the time we get to the noon hour, even though you're going to be around freezing, going to see some gusty conditions, but that snow should begin to pull away, Sam.
All right, thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
And like Ethan said, that storm is expected to start moving out tomorrow, but not before wreaking more havoc. We caught up with so many people affected by the spring storm today.
If you can't handle it, don't do it.
That's the advice from semi-drivers and the RCMP. Stay off the road if you can. Southeast Saskatchewan's getting it the worst, up to 40 centimeters of snow, more than a foot expected in places like Weyburn and Estevan. But having dealt with a similar storm this time last year, both communities were prepared with their graders at the ready. The city of Regina has not declared snow routes because most of what's fallen has melted on roadways already, but the weather hasn't been great for newly striking federal employees.
In order to show the government that we want a fair shake.
Public Service Alliance of Canada picket lines are set up at hundreds of locations across Canada. Here in Regina, that includes outside RCMP Depot and downtown. The federal government and PSAC failed to reach a deal by last night's deadline. Workers have been without a contract for about 2 years. Pay levels, remote work, and job security are key issues for the union. And before we leave you, all the NHL fans watching right now are hoping their team scores big tonight. We thought we'd show you how quickly the pucks can get into the net. That's goal number 1 for Regina Falcons captain Grady Greenslade, who wears number 5. The U13 player put that one in the net at the 8:30 mark in the second period. Then he did it again 6 seconds later, and a third time 4 seconds after that. The young player scored a hat trick in just 10 seconds of gameplay. Then he topped the game off with one more goal midway through the third period. The Falcons ended up winning that game 9-1. How fun. That is it for us tonight. For News Anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/Sask or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. We are preempted by hockey tomorrow, but you can find us online at 6 p.m. Ethan will be back tonight at 11:30. Up next, it's an NHL playoff Game 2 doubleheader. First, Florida and Boston, followed by LA and Edmonton. Have a great night. Stay warm.